Okay, cool. Hey guys, and we're back the very next day. I am going to be finishing this today. I got the same battle report up from yesterday where I left off watching the Death Watch versus Tyranids 8th edition battle report. The thing for today, I think I am really going to focus on getting this branch structure figured out and this upper structure here figured out. I'm going to adjust this so it's a little bit further back. Perfect. So, kind of more of that. There we go. Now you can kind of see that this piece is also over here, and you can see that in this camera. You know, I got my Kona beer right here. Cheers. And I got, for afterwards, my big old canteen of coffee. So, goal is to grind through this tonight, get this completely nailed down, and then once it's nailed down, move on to just getting the next phase of it done. It's going to take a lot of work to get through this and to really get it to the standard that I want. And you know, adhering to that means that I'm going to have to push for most of tonight towards finishing this and having it ready so I can begin the drawing process tomorrow, because to be honest with you, it's really important that I get moving on that because I'm going to be cleaning this area out. It actually turns out my parents will not be pushing to paint the room this week. They will be doing it next week. So what will end up happening is I will instead be cleaning out this room and prepping it this week, and then next week the painting will happen. So I will probably not work on the Pharaoh head for at least 2 weeks. So it's actually kind of a frustrating thing that they're pushing it back, because that means I have to wait longer to work on the Pharaoh project and begin painting it. But that's okay, because I'm going to get this done, and then I'm going to spend the next 2 weeks drawing as many letters as I can in Adobe Illustrator, and you know, I'll paint miniatures instead of doing drawing by hand. And then that's kind of how I'll switch between doing digital and traditional art. And I'm going to be continuing to practice guitar, but I have to really get these next set of letters, like the work prepped, and get myself like recording some of my work. I've been doing a lot of work on the letter D actually recently, and I'd say closing in on the halfway mark on the letter D, and I have not recorded an ounce of footage of myself working on it. And that's just due to circumstance being what it is. So instead of having content for the letter D, I'm just gonna kind of work on it, finish it, and show it to you. But I don't know how much footage I will be able to capture of myself working on the letters in Illustrator, just because of my work schedule being what it is. So you might end up seeing more of like a finished final product, or you might see like, you know, intervallic updates, but not like hyperlapses of me getting a lot of work done. So I'll have to figure out how to give you guys other content updates, but my work is changing and the situation is a little bit more fluid than it was before. And they're going to be asking me to put in more hours than I was previously. That's why I'm having some problems doing the recordings and editing work. I had initially planned on doing 10 days, a 10-day challenge where I would release 2 videos a day every day for 10 days. And I got really close to actually meeting that and, you know, staying to it. But then I got an email saying that my work schedule has changed. They're increasing the number of hours we're working, and they're kind of changing their schedule, and then that sort of challenge that I was proposing kind of got thrown out the window because my work schedule changed. That being said, there's a lot of people right now who are unemployed, and I'm really grateful to be employed, so I'm not, you know, ungrateful or anything like that for my job. I'm grateful to be employed, it's just that because it changed, I have to kind of adapt my expectations and say, well, now I can't do this, but I can do this. So I can either adjust and find some way of being productive, or I can just let everything go to shit. And instead of just kind of dropping the ball on everything, I'm just going to be doing this. Right now my dad is watching Ford versus Ferrari. He asked if I wanted to watch the movie with him and I declined. I really want to watch that movie, but like I have got to get this shit done. So like I am actively prioritizing this. I am technically not spending time with my family because I'm prioritizing this over other activities that I could be doing, like watching movies with my parents. But that's because like this shit has to get finished, because I have to move on to the next step. I have to get this done so I can lay out the format for the Veritas lantern and then start painting that. This font is holding up the next process. And then as soon as this font is done, I still have to do a bunch of other characters. So it's still really not as far along as it should be. I need to push. And this situation, even though it's becoming more difficult and people at work are expecting me to do more, is still extremely flexible. I'm doing overall less work than I was previously, and I do have more time and energy than I did previously. And I want to take as much advantage as possible of this time that I have, because this situation is temporary, and next year I am going to be back on my regular schedule, and it is going to be far more difficult and challenging to complete projects next year than it is this year. And I think next year I will be working more on music and song projects than necessarily art projects, because it will be very difficult for me to go through a production cycle when it's very difficult to get studio time, to sit down in my studio environment and just focus. So we'll see what comes out of 2021, but I know that 2020 is just going to be hardcore production. Try and get as far as I can with the Faro poster, try to get as far as I can with Veritas, get as much done with the font as possible. I definitely will not be able to finish the entire 26 characters this year, but I can take a big chunk out of them and maybe get halfway through it, get all the letters drawn and like a bunch of them in the computer graphically converted, and maybe in 2021 I can finish the rest of the letters and have a full font completed and be able to start producing banners with my font and not have to worry about, the licensing of using somebody else's font, and just have everything on the banner 100% my original creation, and not have to worry about, any kind of credit towards anyone else. It's like I made everything that went on that banner, and there's no exception. And that's kind of where I'm going, because the banners are about $800 to print. I don't want to spend $800 on something that isn't entirely my own work. Especially if I'm going to print a banner and use it as a demonstrative piece, and then have somebody say, oh, is that your font? And it's like, oh no, I bought a license to use it. It's like, it makes no sense to spend that kind of money printing something and it's not like 100% authentically mine. So that's the direction I'm going. It's going to be a little bit harder and more time consuming, but I can get there, and it's just going to take time. But when I do get there, it will be incredibly validating, and it will prove that, without a question of doubt, that I am capable of this kind of production, and that I am capable of that quality of standard. So yeah, with that out of the way, I gotta get onto this. I'm gonna play the battle report and kind of just zone into this. All right, thanks for listening to me rant. That pencil's useless, I gotta switch tools. This is just frustrating, but whatever. Sometimes I hate mechanical pencils because they clog up, and then it's just one of those things where they just are very finicky sometimes. I don't drink that often, but that was a good beer. I enjoyed that. Every once in a while, Kona is nice. Takes the edge off of the day. These guys are good sportsmen. They're fun to watch. That's kind of what makes a tabletop game fun or not, is whether you have, you know, good sportsmanship. Man, that was a good battle report. With that being said, I'm gonna take a restroom break and be right back. And this time I'm actually gonna be right back. So I'll see you guys in just a second. Hey guys, this is Keenan Fry, and I am back from my bathroom break. I got another battle report. This is a Tyranids versus Deathwatch again. I was really impressed by the last one, and narratively speaking, it's kind of fun to watch. So we're going to just play this in the background, and I am going to try and focus on finishing the rest of this and just figuring out how the rest of this is going to go. And yeah, so let's get into it. think I'm gonna call it for tonight. I'm tired. I gotta go to work tomorrow. I gotta get some rest. It's 1 a.m. and I need to get at least 6 hours. So by the time I'm in bed and ready to go, it'll be at least 1:30. So let's kind of like reflect on this real quick. This whole passage is done. Yesterday I was outlining how I wanted all the shapes to interlock. I did a bunch of work to sort of create the flow on this section right here, and I think I've done a good enough job to really feel like this lower leg has the flow and feeling that I want. So this leg is pretty much ready to be inked, which is something that I'm excited for. That's something I can do in the next day or so and kind of get moving on. As for up here, I'm still kind of figuring out what I'm going to do up on top. I definitely don't like this. I don't like those kinds of shapes. They're very stereotypical, and I see them in a lot of other work. So I don't really like these kinds of shapes. I like putting diamond heads on top, but not like these inset shapes. So I'm gonna probably have to redo this and make it more like the original, just make it a complete tip. So this will get redone up here. This is undecided, and this is taking time. This is gonna remain an open branch, and I want there to be like some openness to it, and I want there to feel like there's a flow from here into here. It kind of like has a flow going into here, like there's a kind of clear path. Here, it kind of disappears right around here, and I largely think it's because of this shape here. I don't know if I like this. I kind of want this to maybe flow a little bit more into the leg and maybe get rid of this right here. So there might be one more draft to this letter where I kind of like cross this off and cross that off. And if I leave that, oh, you can't even see it. I'm sorry. Let me re-explain that. Okay, so there's a flow from here into here that kind of bottlenecks. God damn, this is fucking annoying. There's kind of a flow that goes all the way down to here and then bottlenecks there. That's kind of where that flow ends. And then it gets very intricate here and it breaks into a bunch of detailed forms before opening up again at the very bottom section here, right? So knowing that it's gonna open up all the way down into here, tighten up, and then open up a little bit more right around here is where it opens up again. So that's kind of got a flow to it. The problem I'm having is I kind of want some parallel flow going into here, which I think means this shape right here and this shape right here. As much as I like them, I think they need to be removed so that this leg can kind of branch further downwards. And then I think this actually needs to swoop downwards more like that. If that swoops more downwards, then this will retain the arc that I drew here, how I wanted this arc coming down. I'm gonna kind of show you what I'm talking about. See how I've kind of widened it at the end and I've created a gap right there? So it's thicker down here. What that's doing, what that's suggesting, get the HB crayon out. I call it a crayon, but it's not a crayon. Fuck, I don't know where anything is. This area is a mess because I was expecting to pack up and move out. There it is. Here's 2, not HB, but 2. So it's a lot darker. No, not a lot darker. So this is kind of thicker right here, and it kind of creates a channel that tells you like this is the bridge, and this right here. That bridge is important because that's the stroke that connects the two legs of the A and makes it look continuous. So having this be open and not be busy, you know, is really important because it improves the flow. So I've got some of that here, but I just need to kind of cut this crap out, which isn't necessarily a mistake. It's just, I like the shapes, I just think they're placed poorly. A lot of the times I draw shapes that I like, and it has nothing to do with the shape, it's just the placement isn't appropriate and I have to get rid of that shape. So that happens a lot, is I'll draw something I like, but it's just not placed appropriately. It's about composition and not necessarily just the quality of the line work, but the placement of the line work. You know, even if it's a good line, if it's in the wrong spot, it's in the wrong spot and you have to get rid of it because it's damaging the communication of whatever the idea is that you're trying to convey. So yeah, I don't know, still kind of ironing out the composition on this, but I'm really close to having this letter. This is like draft number 5 or 6 for this letter, but these drafts on this particular letter have been harder than any of the other letters I've done, and the fact of the matter is it's pretty robust and well developed, so I'm happy with it. It's getting there. There'll be probably one more draft, but I won't be flipping back and forth through a bunch of others. I'll just be working from this final template. This will be the second to last draft, kind of like how my Pharaoh drawing here, that is my second to last draft of that. So that will get a little bit more work up top, especially where there's that thicker area, and then there'll be a little bit more work on the chin. But for the most part, that's it. There's a few little errors that are due to the micron work, and that's, you know, neither here nor there, but that will be addressed later on. Sorry for shaking the camera on you and jumbling you around. But anyway, I'm Keenan Fry. This is the Acid Drip. It's 1 a.m. I have work tomorrow. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching. This is the Acid Drip.